Previously in X-Men, on the run from the predatory alien species known as the Brood, the X-Men are in deep space without the firepower to survive the upcoming battle. All the while, the terrible horror, their impending doom, is actually coming from within. I am Jason Lapidus.
I'm a bit scared right now. I'm Chris Sanagan, but I'm not that scared.
And we are Group of Seven Comics. Welcome to episode 79 of our ongoing Tuesday night live stream read through of the X-Men comics that became classic, as we read Uncanny X-Men 164 by Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, and is it Bob? I forget Mr. Wiacek's first name off the top of my head. Pardon me. A cover date of December 1982. Chris, my friend, how are you?
Well, I'm good. It's excited to be here on a Tuesday evening, talk some X-Men. Episode 79. We are really climbing up there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this now for a little while, a little over a year.
Towards
it is Bob Wiacek, by the way, Bob Wiacek.
And I'm digging this Brood arc. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, it's.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? Before we get into the Brood, I just want to plug something for everybody. Hey, listen, everybody. Jason and I are crowdfunding for printing costs for a brand new printing of our graphic novel, Group of Seven, A Most Secret Tale, because we sold out of the initial run. And so we are putting a new printing through. And update, we are 90% funded through our Crowdfundr to get our target goal. So I'm just putting it out there. If you have been thinking about funding, you think about supporting, you like what we do, you're keen to help out, now would be a great time to assist. And you know what? If supporting financially, aiding the cards, totally cool, totally understand. Share our info, campaign info on your socials, friends, neighbors, family, people you don't like. Share it with them if you think they like action, adventure, historical fiction, with a healthy dollop of one-liners and fisticuffs and danger and daring do. That's my pitch for tonight.
That's pretty good. So one of the rewards, of course, the main reward from our crowdfunding campaign is the new expanded edition of Group of Seven, A Most Secret Tale, with tons of back matter, lots of additional art, and really interesting behind the scenes and where are they now stuff for the characters in the book. Of course, in addition to that, there is the brand new, never before released print edition of Peregrine's Hunter's Moon, which was featured on Instagram for the month of December. So it's a full length action adventure comic featuring the high flying peregrines, and that's a ton of fun. One of the best ones we did, I think, of the three Instagram style spontaneous comics. I think it's the best one,
and the first one of our books set in Canada. We are in the Toronto area, and we produce comics that are specifically Canadian in content. And this is the first time that one of our adventures actually takes place in Canada.
The adventures take place, although there have been several scenes that take place in Canada, like the Montreal Canadiens dressing room in the 1950s, Parliament Hill, like the offices of the Prime Minister.
The shores, the St. Lawrence River.
The shores, yeah. Hey, I printed something for you today.
Oh, you did?
I did. I printed...
Whoa!
Here, let me full size this bad boy.
Full size?
I printed off, and it's a low res, so it's not the most beautiful, but I came across this image of a late 80s Mike Mignola Fantastic Four. Just sort of like pre-Hellboy.
Yeah.
Mike Mignola. And you and I both love his art so much, and we're really loving the covers he did for the X-Men Classic series during this time period. And just coming across this one, it just feels like a touchstone of like lines that he makes and shapes that he makes that I really, really like. And seeing kind of Kirby through his lens and how he's using negative space. I'm like, oh, this is. I just want to draw like that. It's not his most famous period. Like, he gets sort of more reduced and turns into a different guy. He does Dracula, Cosmic Odyssey, all these other, Gotham by Gaslight. But this is like just such great Mignola Marvel stuff. And I really, really want a book of like an artist edition of Mignola at Marvel, or even just a covers.
Marvel, make it happen. Marvel, we know you watched the show. Make it happen.
I've been accumulating every high res image I can, and I might just make it myself if I can get enough of the material. It is just, his work is so, I love it so much. It's really, really great.
Now, that Fantastic Four, is that a cover?
So as far as I can tell, it was a poster that then in 1994 gets used for the cover of what's called an ash can. So that's like a small, kind of like almost handmade floppy. Like take regular printer paper, fold it in half and staple it, like the one we made for Free Comic Book Day last year. We made an ash can,
right?
And that's sort of like a traditional indie comic small press kind of do-it-yourself little book. Like Jerome is like a master. Our friend Jerome Cabanatan is like a master of making those. He does them all the time, and so it's a real staple of indie culture to make an ash can. So Marvel made one, Fantastic Four, using a fraction of that cover for it, but I don't know what it I don't know for what it was intended. I just know I think it's a print. David Cutler. Hey guys, hope all's well. Hope all's well with you, sir. And I was so excited to see the announcement of your upcoming work for Marvel. It's always really great to see when friends of ours are in a position where they get to do some work that is going to get some eyes on it, and really, really cool to see that you've got another Marvel project coming out soon. So that was super, super cool. Congratulations. There you go. Did you see that post yet, Chris, or no?
I want to say, David, is it with Jason? I see something with Jason Lowe. Two of you working on something.
Jason's writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Anthony, good evening, gentlemen. Hashtag Sleazoids.
Hashtag Sleazoids.
I want to go back and read. Was it last week in the last issue? Was it called Sleaze City or Sleazoid City?
I think it's Sleazoid City.
Okay.
It's like Suffragette City, but it's Sleazoid City. Corsair!
I meant to go back in the comments and banter with Dave about it. Dave Pistorius about
Sleazoids.
Pretorius, but you know what I mean. He says, "Me and Jason Lowe on Cosmo, out now on Marvel Unlimited." Man, so very exciting!
Cool. So cool.
Also working on another Marvel thing with Jason as we squeak. Nice.
Love it.
You could turn that last issue into a drinking game. Holy. Yeah, the Sleazoid stuff was ridiculous.
It does feel like, I mean, we joked earlier when Wolverine kept saying it, and he's like, okay, it's not catching on, but you keep saying it because you want it to catch on. And then the next issue, suddenly Kitty was saying it, and then the last issue, everyone was talking Sleazoids.
Yeah, it was wild. Just wild. I wanted to share, of course, as we're prone to doing. So the cover that's featured in this issue, there you go. It's a beauty. There you go. Congrats, David Cutler. Love the collaboration. Me too. The nicest guys. I love how this says not to be sold. There's a stamp right on it. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah, right there. Yeah.
I wonder if this is someone's promo copy or whatever the deal is.
That's pretty funny. They scanned that.
Yeah.
One. That's pretty funny. Because these are right from the DVD-ROM, right, folks? These are the scans of, so whatever they had to scan to become this magical DVD-ROM for all these issues. The one they chose was the promo copy, not to be sold. I'm gonna
Pretty memorable cover.
Summer intern student did that one.
Pretty memorable cover from Dave Cockrum.
Yeah.
And, this is the first appearance of this iteration of the Carol Danvers character Binary. And Cockrum has, his tropes when it comes to superhero designs. Like the thigh-high boot is like
The
an
ladies.
absolute staple. And then the bikini, or the bathing suit piece. And then something that flows, something that moves, like a sash or, So that's it's interesting to see how like they've repowered up Carol Danvers, and we're going to obviously see the role that it plays. Can we contrast this for a minute with the
Mignola?
9 years later, the Mignola version,
Yeah.
and he's never really done an exact 1-to-1. But this time, I think it is as close as Mignola gets to doing a 1-to-1 interpretation. Right. And I might have a sneeze coming, so just pardon me.
Get ready.
There you go.
Yeah.
This one is great. One of the features that's different, a couple features I noticed that are different. The debris. Mignola helps create that, again, the depth of field, create layers as sort of she's pulling debris up with her or shooting debris out from her. I'm not sure. I'm reading it like it's rising as she's rising, kind of like the way that the
Superman kind of
Zack Snyder Superman pulls some particles up with him. And then he also makes sure that she's in front of a field of black, whereas on the Cockrum cover he puts a field of light behind her, like a galaxy swirl. And this one feels more cosmic, and that space is outside, she's inside, and like the effect is I don't know. I like the field of black behind her with the star field. I think it looks really good.
That's great.
And then he removes Storm. Like maybe it's too crowded with 4 characters. Let's just do 3 in the background, knowing that the cover is going to be lopsided. Like it's going to have its corner box, it's going to have its verbiage. And like cramming another character in there might make it a little bit much. And the corner, and then the little UPC code in the bottom corner. So it's like he simplifies it a little bit there.
But I think too. We more often than not we very much prefer the Mignola covers of the X-Men classics. But I think actually in this case the Cockrum cover is an enjoyable cover. Like
Go to hell, Sanagan.
Well, there you go. There's the hot take. There's the hot take. 10 minutes in.
Yeah, obviously I like this one a ton. I like the narrow ankles, the narrow wrists. Like his style is really good, and I love that big, huge, high-waisted belt on Cyclops. It just breaks up his costume so nicely. There's something about that look for him.
I was fortunate enough to go to my local's back issue sale, the Dragon in Guelph, Ontario, and pulled some Mignola X-Men classic covers. 3, 2 of which we've already done, and 1 that's upcoming. So I'm not going to spoil that one. So
that one's awesome.
The one I got that's upcoming is like, I don't know, slap me in the face. It is just so amazing.
David says, I prefer the Cockrum cover as well for the first only time. The shapes are more pleasing to me. I don't know. You know what? You can go to hell too.
David, join me in hell. Join me in Jason's personal hell.
It is a great cover, no doubt. Like I'm happy that Cockrum.
It's the cosmic, right? He gets a lot of the not always, but when he gets the cosmic stuff right, I think it's just his sweet spot.
Yeah, I'm glad he gets this one. Like this character is not. This character is in a power pose as opposed to in that, not. In the Mignola one, it feels like Binary doesn't exactly have control of herself. Yeah. And this one, she's in full command, right? Yeah. There's something really exciting about that.
Superhero power pose. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hear you. Neat just that if we were to do the side by side, which we're not going to do, even that curved shape of what's like a dome canopy or window out of the spaceship is the same on both, as well as some of the pieces of machinery back there are the same, which I find that really fun that again, that Mignola is doing that close an interpretation. It's very playful. All right, sir, you ready to do this? Of note, Chris, this is Dave Cockrum's last X-Men comic.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So we talked about it.
I say it genuinely, not because I didn't know that, sure, but at the same time, like Cockrum has bookended our. If we were going to stop this right now, we're not though, because we love it. Every Tuesday we come back. But if we were, it starts with Cockrum. We got the burn in the middle, and it's been a lot of Cockrum, and
it has been a lot of Cockrum.
It's been a lot of Dave Cockrum, and that's what it's been. And so, wow, okay, I'm kind of even more curious because I never read ahead. So,
right
there you go.
We talked about this before, but maybe we should say again, like the reason for his leaving is of his own volition. So he thinks. He says that, he had an idea for his own series, recognizing that when you make your own characters up, they are yours. You have control over the story to a degree in your collaboration with the editors and whatnot. But he had some ideas for his own stuff, and there was a royalty program in place. And if you do create characters and maybe you get a little bit of dough every time that character gets used. So like John Byrne's Alpha Flight, by having Alpha Flight sell really well early on, Byrne was making a little extra money on the side, which is great. So maybe Cockrum wanted another shot at creating some characters whole cloth. And he had an idea for a comic. It was going to be a graphic novel, and Marvel, got ready to do that. So Cockrum leaves the X-Men to pursue this very Cockrum-looking ragtag group, whose name I've already forgotten. It's in the book behind me on my bookshelf. It's really not that important because it doesn't go anywhere, and I'm sure David or someone else will remind me.
It is not nearly as memorable as the name The Ani-Men.
No, it's not as memorable as The Ani-Men.
Stay with us forever.
But what happens is his project tanks, and he later reflects back saying he thinks that maybe he was encouraged to leave X-Men. He's like, the payday that I missed out on, because the book got more and more famous and sold more and more copies. I would have made so much more money staying on the title, because I think they kind of wanted me off. They wanted to move on. But when you hear Claremont talk about that, like, he refers to Cockrum in the most favorable way all the time. And he refers to Cockrum as the co-creator of the modern X-Men. He's never keen to give Byrne credit, but he really does throw a ton of credit at Cockrum for being just the best X-Men artist. So I don't think that Cockrum is asked or like he was incepted to leave the series. I don't think that's just him being maybe some revisionist history on his part. Yeah, there you go. We're gonna get into this one and have some fun.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Boom. And we get a really DC style opening page. There you go. Thank you, David. I've looked it up a few times and always forget the title. I looked it up again. The Futurians.
The Futurians.
Yes. Futurians.
Futurians are... No, what are you going to say?
Exactly.
Futurians fornicate.
But this is like a real... The floating head is like a staple of Silver Age DC. And Bronze Age DC, right? And he's of that. But if he's like going to do his last issue, maybe he's just doing goodbye his way. I don't know. I'm projecting onto this that he just like wanted to do this for a while, and it was never on brand.
I honestly, when I opened that page, I was pleasantly surprised.
Me too. Yeah. I'm a fan of the floating heads. Yeah. I like. Stan Lee introduces Binary Star. Look at that font, man. The future.
Yeah, that's
starring the Uncanny X-Men. Yeah. We get Joe Rosen again on letters. We get Janine Casey on colors instead of longtime colorist Glynis Ween, or she was known as Glenys Oliver, which was Len Ween's wife, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a new colorist this issue, but I don't have the colors. I only have it in black and white. And I say only, I shouldn't say only. I have it in black and white, and I'm grateful for it in the good old Essentials edition. We don't need to read out the names of the heads because everyone knows, but let's just state, of course, that the blonde head is Carol Danvers,
Right.
former Ms. Marvel, former agent of the CIA, and longtime spy ally of the Canadian Secret Service, Wolverine. And she's been depowered. She's been through a huge drama. And in the last issue, the Brood, while experimenting on her, noticed some anomalies in her human, in her DNA, basically saying that she's not a mutant, but she's also not a plain ordinary human either. There's some anomaly, something else in there. And she is reshaped to a degree and reveals that there are some serious cosmic powers at bay that she's holding in.
I do like
go ahead,
how
sorry.
I was just gonna say, the faces, and except for Kitty Pryde's, which is this side angle, it's all hair.
Yeah, that's
very
terrible.
odd for Carol.
That's a terrible choice.
Right? That's like, what are you even doing there? Anyway.
I don't know. We've also got Lilandra, of course, who is the paramour of Charles Xavier, who's on Earth at this moment. She is the sort of dethroned empress of a vast cosmic empire known as the Shi'ar. There you go. For anyone who has not been keeping up, this is your first time. That's what I'll throw at you.
Here we go. I guess I'm going to say that's Cyclops saying that at the end.
Sure. Do you want to do it?
Sure. X-Men, we're under attack.
And then this, I think, is the Brood in their ship, right?
Brood. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do some Brood if you want.
Go, man. You're good Brood.
Huntmaster, Tikrilli, reporting contact with alien vessel, Imperial Shah yacht.
I love the yacht, by the way.
Yacht, Ivory Shah. Velocity 0.4 light and increasing. Course out of the system at maximum acceleration. Bioscans indicate multiple life forms aboard. Also alien, probably the Shia Empress Lilandra. And the Terrans captured with her, the X-Men. We have fired.
Go ahead. No, it's okay.
We have fired warning shots, but the target has not responded. Tactical projection is that the target will shift into warp as soon as it is able. My Gadra lacks faster than light capability. Request instructions.
Tikrilli, heed the words of your great mother. The X-Men and Lilandra have indeed escaped, wrecking the inner hive and nearly slaying me in the process. Their starship is to be disabled and all aboard taken alive and unharmed, with one exception. The X-Men Wolverine may be slain. He and his companions are host forms for my progeny, but somehow he managed to destroy the egg implanted within him. No more of my children are to die, is that clear? Any sacrifice to that end is acceptable. Should you fail, Huntmaster, be certain you yourself are among the slain. Biatch!
Ooh, biatch out.
Yeah.
Another salvo, closer than the last. I think they're trying to tell us something. Any idea what we're up against, Lilandra?
Brood fighter craft, Cyclops. Short range, high velocity vessels, highly maneuverable and heavily armed.
Can we outrun them?
So long as we remain sublight, no. And we are still too deep within this star's gravity well to shift into warp space.
Can we fight?
Zrishar is a pleasure craft, not a warship. Push that button and it sings the "It's your birthday" song. That's when I had to explain to my children what an orgy was, by the way.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, 'cause we were in the theater, and the time when the button is for the Grandmaster's orgies. My kids are like, hey, that's awesome. What's an orgy? Good times.
Good time, kids. Well, kids, strap in. I'm gonna tell. They keep missing Carol. Well, they must be very poor shots.
Far from it, Colossus. They're shooting wide deliberately to get us to surrender. I wonder why.
So do I. The Brood's been handling us with kid gloves ever since they kidnapped us.
I cannot divert any more power to the shields. I need it for the engines, Captain. She's playing the role of Mr. Scott. What are you going to do?
It's great.
We have weapons, Cyclops, minimal though they are. Use them and your own mutant powers to keep the Brood at bay. Leaving Kitty Pryde to care for Nightcrawler, injured during the escape, Carol Danvers, Colossus, and Wolverine raced for the weapons control center. I think forever, like that part where, we're being chased, quickly go man the guns.
Yeah.
Well, it's forever that scene in Star Wars where Luke and Han take on those TIE fighters, right? Like that's...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Someone's going to say, don't get cocky at some point, right?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be you.
Yeah, that's right. I also, want to put that first panel on that page on the left. Like, you forget they're like living organisms they've turned into spaceships.
Yeah, it is a neat idea.
It is a neat idea.
Just go read some Frank Quietly or some Brian Hitch, like on the Authority, and how they handle... What was that ship that the Authority have? It like goes into the bleed. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I mean, it's been a while since I read the Authority.
It's dated, but the artwork is unbelievable.
Of course.
But they have this ship, and like the way that those artists convey scale with a spaceship is incredible, and it's a ton of work. I recognize. But it can be done. This just looks like a regular shark flying in space.
It does.
Yeah.
Space shark.
Yes. Defend the galaxy. Star Frontiers.
I love it this time, though. Like, I really do. I mean, just to take a look at these ads here, but it's the influence, the impact of Star Wars.
Huge.
In late 70s, early 80s. I mean, Star Trek also big, but it's just everything is cosmic.
Yes.
Right? Every battle is cosmic. Everything is cosmic. Or fantasy. I mean, we see the D&D stuff too. So really just how much those genres are just dominating.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to just, of course, say that Star Wars is fantasy, too. It's just fantasy, in space. Do you want to be Danvers this time?
Sure.
Okay.
The status board indicates we have access to a mixed armament of blasters and fire and forget computer-guided missiles. These consoles look fairly easy to operate. Simply pretend it's a video arcade game.
Yep. Trouble is, losing this game will cost you more than a quarter.
Now, kids, you have to understand there were these things called quarters, and they were coins that represented a quarter of a dollar. And they had a picture of not the king, but the queen on one side, which you'll never see again. Video games cost a quarter at that point. It was, 5 Bs for a nickel, we'd say.
5 Bs,
whatever.
You'd say. Is there no other way, Wolverine? Must we kill?
It's us or them, Petey. And if ever a race deserved their fate, the Brood's it. Maybe I can't save you and the others, pal. Though I'd give my soul for the chance. But I can at least avenge you.
Sights locked. Got him.
Don't get cocky.
Space shark.
Oh, yeah. That poor thing.
Poor thing.
Between them, Carol and Wolverine begin to take a deadly toll. Colossus, however, is not quite so fortunate.
I am not used to such mechanisms. Even with the battle computer's assistance, I cannot react quickly enough to hit my target. My thoughts are too slow. And try as I might, as my words are also too slow. And try
I'm
as
so
I might,
dumb.
neither can I put aside my doubts. I know the brood are evil, yet I keep wishing there was some other way. Pyotr Nikolaevich, what's the matter with you? The X-Men are your friends, your comrades. They are depending on you, and you are failing them.
He's dumb. Elsewhere,
Incredible. The yachts extruded a temporary blister of ruby quartz, just like my visors, that I can fire my optic blasts without damaging the ship. Wolverine knows something he isn't telling about us and the brood.
before you go further, so this
Yes.
is like, I think it's great, by the way. And
Mm.
I really like that the idea of, doing that more. And of course, we see this in
Mhm.
X-Men Dark Phoenix, the movie,
We do.
where Cyclops puts his head in a little, in a periscope down kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and uses his optic blasts outside of the ship. Like, I think it's a very natural extension
Yeah.
of his abilities. It's plug your head in a thing and shoot everybody.
Yeah, he's his own gun turret.
Yeah, man, it's awesome.
It is. He's never been shy about speaking his mind before, so it must be as unpleasant as it is important. When we get out of this, if we do, I'll have to make him talk. That should be fun. Why are we here? What does the brood want with us? Gene! Here come the fighters. These seem to be living creatures, as are the brood starships. I'll have to be careful so my shots force them to disengage without seriously hurting them.
Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the hull, my weather powers have limited effectiveness in space. We are too far from the sun, and it would require too much concentration for me to manipulate the solar wind. I am forced to call upon my lightning. Mister, hello, Trevor. Hope you're well. I have sworn never to take a life. Yet where the brood are concerned, I am sorely tempted to break that vow. However, while they are consummate evil, their vessels are not. I cannot harm them. I will use the lightning to stun. Blessed goddess, no! The bolts are out of control. The ships, I've killed them.
All hunters from Tequila, ignore our casualties. Maintain the attack. Concentrate on the engineering section. Their shields are buckling.
We've been hit.
Is it serious?
The control elements of the warp drive are inoperative. We can't effect repairs from inside the ship. Someone has to go on extravehicular activity.
What Rocky Jones Space Ranger? What is that?
Okay, so Louise Jones is the
Okay.
editor, and these are always her little footnotes, right? So she's calling
Gotcha.
herself Rocky Jones Space
Okay.
Ranger because I'm assuming that there's a space character called Rocky that somehow she's referencing in her joke.
Huh.
Now, I know there's a Rocky in the movie Rocky. I know there's a Rocky mountain range.
Uh-huh.
I know there's Rocky and Bullwinkle. I know there was Rocky, one of the members of the Challengers of the Unknown, but that's DC.
Rocky
So
Raccoon?
who is
Rocket
Rocky?
Raccoon?
Like,
Perhaps?
who are the Space Rangers?
Right. Okay, so maybe, and I just read this because it's obviously been re-released in time for Guardians 3, but there was a Rocket Raccoon miniseries drawn by Mignola
Yes, of course.
that comes out. I think it's 84,
Yeah,
but
right around there.
right around, but this is 82. But Rocket Raccoon, they talk a little bit about it, and he's introduced in the mid 70s, and he is kind of like a space ranger. So I wonder if that's what they're talking about. Which I also didn't realize that they named him after, of course, the Beatles song Rocky Raccoon from the White Album.
Yes.
So there you go, which is great too. And I after having read that 4-issue series, which was just bonkers, by the way, I know something, and I've seen the stills from the new movie. I haven't seen the movie yet, so no spoilers. But I'm glad I read it because I see there's source material they used for characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Cutler says consummate evil with consummate V's. Consummate. I cannot read the word consummate without thinking about consummate V's. And Trogdor the Breninator.
Trogdor.
Yeah, just ridiculous. Rocky Balboa in space? So I'm hoping someone old or someone resourceful will figure out what space ranger is Rocky. If it's not Rocket Raccoon, which I think at some point was like called Rocky in his gestation, so. Right? In his, yeah. There you go.
There you go. I'll do it. No, you won't. You're barely able to stand. And besides, what'll you do out there when the sleazoids shoot at you, duck? Kitty, we heard what you intend, and I won't allow it. It's too dangerous. That's crazy, Scott. I'm the only one for whom it isn't dangerous. If any beams come my way, I'll phase through them as easily as I phase into this pressure suit. And using the suit's video camera and radio, Lilandra can monitor my progress and tell me what to do. I'll be careful, Scott, I promise. And I'll be all right.
You have the brattiest kitty pride.
How old is she?
It doesn't matter.
Scott.
She's such a brat. Anyway, it's so funny. Maybe it's an inside joke, Trevor says. Yeah, maybe it is.
Maybe.
Who knows? They're always goofing around at that Marvel office.
They are. A bunch of goofballs.
After making certain she has the necessary equipment and that it's functioning properly, Kitty phases through the primary hull.
Wow. Star Wars was never like this. The busted module is aft, beneath the solar fins. I want to run, but I can't. I'm not using a safety line. One misstep and it'll throw me off into space, and the others won't be able to stop and come back for me.
Now, I love this drawing. This is one of the things that often goes like a little wonky anytime a character puts on the suit.
Mm-hmm.
Look how broad her shoulders are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there. Dave Pretorius has the answer. Look at that. Rocky Jones, the Space Ranger, 1950s TV show. Yeah.
No, thanks,
there
Dave.
You go. Thanks, man.
I appreciate that.
At that moment, in weapons control, what the? My vision suddenly went blurry. I saw colors, images I never dreamed possible. But everything's normal now. Probably stress. A delayed reaction to the treatment I received from the Brood.
On the yacht's hull, an X-Man, the youngling. You stun.
You're it.
You stun. And pressure beams on her. Try to knock her loose. Once she's in free space, we can easily take her prisoner. Spawn of the Blood Moon. My bolts have no effect.
Phew. I know I've been through moments like this before, but they don't get any easier. I can't help wondering what'll happen the one time my powers don't work. Why'd I open my big mouth anyway? What am I doing here? I'm just a kid. No, not anymore. I'm an X-Man. I earned my place on the team, and here's where I prove it. She says that about every 2 issues. She says, I'm just a kid. No, wait a minute. I'm not a kid. I'm an X-Man. By the way, Spawn of the Blood Moon is just going to be my saying from now on when things don't go my way. Spawn of the Blood Moon!
That's good.
Traffic jam, whatever. Spawn of the Blood Moon.
But I get that idea about like her talking herself into it. Every day when I need the bathroom, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to pee my pants. I'm like, no, I'm a big boy. I can hold it.
That's funny because every time I go to the bathroom, I'm like, Spawn of the Blood Moon.
The
good save.
aliens. Well, the aliens should have activated their warp drive by now. We must have crippled them.
All hunters close in!
They're hitting us from all sides, more than we can handle. And our return fire is slackening off. Storm, are you okay? They're clobbering us, Aurora. Why aren't you using your lightning against the fighters?
I cannot. My powers no longer yield to my will. If I use them, I will kill. And that I cannot do. For you, for Kitty, for anyone. Weapons control. Another spell of weirdness, worse than before. The sensations aren't unpleasant, just totally strange. The brood subjected me to evolutionary modification. I guess they must have triggered something inside me. But what?
So far, so good, Landra. I replaced the primary.
Ow!
Kitty, what's the matter? Why did you scream? Kitty!
No problem, really. Shrapnel from a near miss. Didn't see it coming. Didn't phase. My suit automatically sealed itself, so I haven't lost much air. I'm bleeding, but I don't think it's serious. Hurts like blazes, though.
Inside immediately. Your mission's canceled, mister.
No, I'm staying. I'm almost finished, Lalandra. A few more minutes and we'll be safe.
That's a weird, like, she gets hit by something. Like, we don't see it at all, right?
No, at all. She's just working away, and you try to look at maybe back at the other panels, but there's nothing that is kind of. Yeah, no.
It's okay. Not a big deal. So little time, yet for Kitty, it may well be the rest of her damn life.
Ooh.
The same, in a way, holds true for Carol. Years ago, a freak accident combined the best genetic elements of human and the ancient starfaring Kree to transform her into Ms. Marvel. And while she later lost her superpowers to the mutant Rogue, those hybrid genes remained. Now, thanks to the Brood's meddling, their untapped potential is being realized with a vengeance. She cries out in wonder more than fear, for the process seems surprisingly natural, rather like a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. That's a good way to put it.
Mm.
She got super angry eyes.
Oh, yeah.
A blinding light flares within her soul, a thing apart from her that instantly becomes a part of her to form a union that will last till death. The light is power, and Carol uses it without hesitation.
Everything's fixed. Throw the switch, Lalandra. Throw us into warp.
Bless you, child. We're on our way. Kitty, are you there? Kitty!
Meanwhile,
Back at the ranch.
mm-hmm.
Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, Salem Center, New York. The title is something of a misnomer these days, though the mansion has been rebuilt better than before, courtesy of construction robots provided by Lalandra. The school is, in truth, no more. As a young man, Charles Xavier had a dream of an Earth where humanity and mutant kind lived together in peace. To fulfill that dream, and to protect the world from depredations of evil mutants, he formed this school, whose students became the Uncanny X-Men. Unsung heroes, feared, often hated by the very people they were sworn to save. They became his surrogate children, whom he loved with all his heart, sometimes too much. And since their abduction, his nights have become haunted, his hands, he believes, covered with blood. The dream may still be good, but this dreamer is done.
You call me Professor?
No, that's not it.
Yes, more of that.
Thought you called me Professor? Whatever. We'll try.
Dinner's ready, Ileana.
Great, I'm starved.
Nope.
You know who you sound like?
What do I sound like?
Okay, this is a deep cut. So there is a slave girl in the original G.I. Joe cartoon from like 1983
Okay.
that Duke meets when he's imprisoned within the Cobra Temple in the mountains.
Okay.
And and she talks like that. I like want to send you a clip. And she helps Duke survive. And
Okay.
her voice is fantastic, just like that. And talk about a deep cut. Trevor says Topo Gigio. Do you know Topo Gigio?
Yeah, isn't that from
Dumposhijo.
It's like the talking hand, isn't it?
something like that?
Like the side mouth. Anyway, we'll get there. The girl is Ileana Rasputin, Colossus's sister.
I have been exploring the house. It is almost exactly as I remember it, though it's a bit spooky with just the two of us here.
Bit inappropriate, dude. Moira will be back on Monday.
That's wonderful. I like Dr. I like Dr. McTavish a lot.
I'm sure she'll be pleased to hear that.
I like you too, Professor. Honest. Terrible. Professor, sometimes I hear your voice perfectly clearly, but you're nowhere around. And I don't actually hear anything. That is, with my ears. The words seem to pop into my head. How is that? And how come before I returned here with you and Dr. McTaggart, I could only speak Russian? I remember you touching my forehead one night as I fell asleep. And the next morning when I woke up, I spoke perfect English.
I taught you while you slept.
Well, I figured that, but how?
With my thoughts.
Oh.
I am a mutant like your brother, Peter. But where he transforms his body into organic steel, I read minds. Different people, different abilities.
Do you know what I'm thinking?
I hope I know what you're thinking. This is a terrible, terrible book about terrible things. A telepath should never indiscriminately mind scan people, especially those in his care. Your secrets are safe from me, child.
Professor, am I a mutant?
Perhaps. I'm not sure.
I can do neat things too, just like Piotr.
Such as what?
Oh, things.
Like, that's a great drawing of her, by the way.
That is a great
Like,
drawing.
there's stuff going on, right? Like the Dark Child
Yep.
subtext. It's all in that picture. Like just having her heavy bangs, like give her some shadow around her eyes. It's really, really good. It's like good storytelling. Ileana's thoughts are protected by an extraordinarily powerful and sophisticated sonic field. It could be natural, but I doubt it. According to Moira, she was abducted by a demon lord named Belasco and held for 7 years in his mystic domain, though only moments passed here on Earth. What she experienced there, for good or ill, no one knows. I ought to investigate, find a way to pierce that barrier, but I no longer care enough to make that attempt. What? Let Moira deal with her. All I want is to be left alone.
Whoa,
That's
Charlie.
whoa. I no longer care enough. Wow.
I know, right?
Love the slight shadow under those bangs there, says Anthony. Yeah, me too. It tells us everything.
Yeah.
You know,
She's seen
when
some
I look straight at her face, the swoop of her hair almost gives her like the pointed ears of just hints that I don't know. It does the job for my peripheral vision. But yeah, it's really good drawing. Not a weird smoosh face like Cockrum often gives us. Whoa.
Yeah.
Like that feels like this is out of nowhere. Like I know she was transforming, but like give us a
Heads
I don't
up.
know. Something.
I must be alive. I hurt too much to be anything else. So hard
to move. Feels so tired, weak. Hello? Is anyone there? Can anyone hear me?
Kitty.
Carol? Thank heaven. Is that you?
So, can we pause for a minute and
Of
talk
course.
about this?
Sure.
Couple things are coming up in my mind. Like, one first thought is this feels like it's Phoenix Take Two
Right.
to me. I wonder if you feel the same way. I don't know how she has a costume. I don't know how, like, it's high heels, the whole thing. I get that she's kind of a human manifestation of a star. That's sort of how I'm now reading this. Like, that's my interpretation of it.
Right.
Which is all fine, right? David Cutler says, "How 70s is that costume from 1983?" Well, that's a great point, David, and I think that's really maybe one of the shortcomings of our friend Dave Cockrum is that he is really a dated creator. Like, his work feels firmly rooted in the early 60s or early 70s. You know, he's not really adapting with the time. Just I think as he gets more modern, the thigh high boots get thigh-ier. Maybe that's all that there is to it. So my first thing was like, this feels like Phoenix Take Two. Second thing, have you ever seen a moment in all of your experiences with Marvel and all that kind of stuff where there's a spaceship and a character who's kind of dying in a spacesuit in the middle of nowhere, and Carol Danvers shows up brighter than a star to rescue them from death?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Endgame. Tony Stark at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
I wonder if that moment was a little bit on their mind, on either the Russo's mind or any of the Marvel producers or Marcus McFeely. That like, we're going to give Carol a moment where she's as bright as a star, coming to the rescue a person who's like on the verge of death. And there's something about something angelic and that savior moment is kind of it really rings out to me about that moment. But anyway,
you
kind
know,
of fun.
I don't even know. Do you any thoughts on what the 2 stars on her costume mean?
Yeah, binary star.
Oh, okay. Wait, what?
It means 2, dude.
Binary means 2?
Well, yeah, it's like one or the other.
Gotcha.
You know what a binary star is?
I mean, no. Tell me about it.
It's when 2 stars are orbiting each other.
Oh, so maybe she has the power of 2 stars.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? Like one wasn't enough.
Right.
So she has 2.
One on each thigh-high boot.
Okay. I thought when I first looked at it, I mean, it did not clear to make the connection of binary stars, but I thought it was like kind of like a reference to her military rank.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of fun, too.
You know?
That might be the nice, like, a place where those things align, right?
Yeah.
David says, wouldn't be the first thing I stole from an X-Men comic. So give me another example. What else off the top of your head, David, comes to mind when you think about, and whether, I mean, stealing or not, it's kind of their proprietary material. Like, they're allowed to, they're doing a Carol Danvers moment, and they just echo a Carol Danvers moment. Like, we know with the movies that the titles are so loosely affiliated with adaptations, you know, of source material. Like, they're not ever one-to-one, even when the titles are one-to-one, like Civil War or Winter Soldier. They pull moments, right? They just pull the moments that they would like to see. I really did a huge deep dive into every single interview, long form interview that I could find with the Russos and Marcus and McFeely around the time of Endgame and Infinity War. And I really enjoyed their transparency about the creative process, and that they weren't trying to make everything make sense, like the time travel stuff, especially from a science point of view. But they kind of had to hit certain beats and you know, put together like the story structure mattered more than science fact. And one of the steps in making those movies was that the gang of producers, not just, you know, Feige, but the whole bunch, like the whole executive group at Marvel, everyone sat in a room together, you know, for days, and they wrote down all the things, all the moments they would like to see in a movie like Infinity War Endgame, as if it's one movie.
Right.
And something, so for instance, it could be they wanted to see Giant Man punching one of those giant organic spaceship things.
100% my favorite part of those movies.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
That was great.
Or maybe they want to see Sam come back and say on your left. And so they have all these cue cards with these moments written down. And then they start to figure, okay, what can we actually fit? What can we not fit? And then what kind of order can these things go in? And they would obviously sacrifice some for the sake of story and then build story around other things. David says, the Wakanda salute was an X-Men salute. Thanos was right, Magneto was right. Ha 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 ha. I get sore. Do you? Do you really? Makes me sad. I hope you don't get sore. I know you're a pretty passionate guy when it comes to those kinds of things. I always enjoy hearing your take on that, except for when you say that Cockrum's cover is better than Magnola's. Yeah, the X-Men salute thing, I still feel it obviously it feels inherently X-Men. But I wonder if there was, like, the Wakanda salute has had a huge impact. It's done really well as a motion. And I wonder if there was something else they could have chosen instead that would have worked. But like a two-armed like chest pump, it's good. Anyway, but I hear you. Okay, thanks for indulging my digression. Later, after the others have been revived.
Is the change permanent, Carol?
I hope so.
She's beautiful. When I first saw her, I thought she was an angel. Hush, Captain. Save your strength and let me complete my examination. Funny, isn't it? Not long ago, I was taking care of you. Uh-huh. Kurt, fuzzy elf, I feel so cold. We all do. But why aren't we moving?
Your repair saved us, but it was only a stopgap. The warp drive is now totally inert. With it, we've lost main and auxiliary power. That means no life support. Unless we regenerate the matter-antimatter cores, we'll freeze or suffocate soon. How do we do that? By saturating the cells with energy. I wonder how they're going to do that. By lightning, Cyclops optic blasts? Nowhere near enough, Aurora, to do it right. What's needed is the functional equivalent of a star.
Or 2 stars.
A binary star. I mean
binary.
binary.
It's the alien language of binary.
She knows instinctively what must be done. Once more she reaches within herself to the light in her soul that feels newborn, yet as old as time.
Oh.
David says, it has. I don't want to take from that. Like, meaning the Wakanda salute kind of having a good life of its own. A red-skinned, fire-spouting angel. Exactly. Gilligan's Planet, I don't remember watching it, but it must have been just shit-tastic.
Must have been.
I don't know.
Meatballs and spaghetti.
I know that. We're all out of ideas on CBS.
I do kind of like the pandemonium. It's about pandas.
and like a wizard or some kind of, cloaked thing and a giant snake. And then 2 tourists.
It's so good. Howard, you've done it again.
See, that this is unfortunate. Like, that's that gap between.
Right.
It needed to be on 2 pages that were facing each other, maybe. Yeah. Cool. She's got powers like Daredevil hearing powers. And unleashes it. So the sentence is, once more she reaches within herself to the light in her soul that feels newborn, yet as old as time, and unleashes it. Now, like this panel right underneath it, again,
Mhm.
no sense of scale.
No.
Yeah.
It's also, is it throbbing? That was the engine.
Yeah. We can't even see that's in space.
No.
Yeah. Either way, we'll move past this.
Carol.
Not too shabby, huh? Easy, darling. You look pretty Rocky. Like Rocky the Space Ranger. Gilligan's Planet, terrible, says Trevor.
Oh, wow.
To me, my ex-friend, says Jason Lowe.
Just in time for the deep dive on Gilligan's Planet. Well done, Jason.
Far out space nuts. Awesome. Those looks ain't deceiving, my friend. I was wondering if my new incarnation had an upper limit to its abilities. Now I know.
But what a limit!
I'm in a mood. Everyone to bed. Everyone to bed. There is much left to do, and after a night's rest and a proper meal, we'll get to work. Why, that's a weird thing to tell everyone to go to sleep, everyone, right now.
Exactly. You go to sleep, Lalandra.
Very Ditko-esque panel on the left. I find, I'm not sure which one you're referring to. I guess it's the bottom corner here. Yeah, I see Ditko there. I also see Ditko in the one with Lalandra looking at us, where she tells everyone to go to bed. Like that could be Ditko inked by somebody else. It's not so, at least the Lalandra face. And the throbbing spaceship. The bulbous tip. Totally a Ditko bulbous tip.
Bulbous.
And so, my old friend, hold on, that's her talking. Oh yeah, it's her. Okay. My old friend Captain Marvel was gifted with cosmic awareness, an ability to become one with the universe. I think I've gone beyond that. His was a spiritual merger. Mine is physical. Somehow, when I use my power, I tap into a white hole. My energy source is the primal fabric of a universe. A white hole. Like a star, I can generate heat, light, radiation across the spectrum, gravity, and my perceptions. Colossus, you can't imagine what I see. How wondrous it is. I'm not even listening. You are rambling.
You sound very happy.
Don't I, though?
Such abilities would be invaluable to the X-Men.
You inviting me to join, Tavarish?
You are now a mutant, and you've always been a friend.
Best offer I've had all day, big fella. But it means living and working on Earth.
What is wrong with that?
Nothing. Everything. When I was a teenager, I hitchhiked to Cape Canaveral to watch an Apollo launch. My dad wailed the tar out of me. What? Wailed the tar out of me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a good look.
No. My dad wailed the tar out of me, but it was worth it. I wanted so badly to be an astronaut, to explore space, discover new worlds, ancient civilizations, go where no one had gone before. As Ms. Marvel, I almost made it. Now, suddenly, my dreams come true, beyond my wildest expectations. But there's a price. Returning with you means rejecting my heart's desire. But fulfilling that desire means leaving everyone, everything I love. Earth was Carol Danvers' home, Colossus. But I fear it has no place for Binary. I mean,
Binary.
So, I'm going to interpret it this way.
Yes.
That the MCU version of Captain Marvel is a hybrid of Carol Danvers' Ms. Marvel and Carol Danvers' Binary. That cosmic space-flying energy creator, like that feels binary. It doesn't feel like Ms. Marvel at all. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a decent assumption there. I also believe that last panel where she's looking and says her name, because of course you got to say who you are.
Yeah.
It's very Mignola-esque. Like to me.
Yeah.
It's like a guest pencil panel on that one.
Yeah, that's a good
Weird.
point.
Also, I wanted to say that White Hole Sun is the B-side to the Soundgarden song Black Hole Sun, but it's the acoustic version of White Hole Sun.
Right. That's good.
Thanks.
So Jason Lowe says that actually Steranko-esque in the graphics. Yeah, I hear you. Like looking at this one about binary with all the circles and stuff, reminiscent of his work in like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But I agree with you, Chris, also about this binary picture by Mike Mignola. Like, it's in the brow. There's a Hellboy, like when he's not mad, he has that kind of that shaped brow as well with those blank white eyes. Reminds me of him too. So yeah, a little Mignola-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Cool.
Very cool.
Stop fidgeting. I'm nearly finished. Deep breath again. Cough.
What's the verdict, Doc? Will I live? Great answer. Are you sure you know what you're doing?
Let's hope so for your sake. You're better, but not yet best.
I feel fine, Kurt.
I think that's maybe his best Nightcrawler face too, by the way.
Yeah,
it looks perfect. It looks weighted, and there are all the planes of the face look really good. I don't know. That's just a really good Nightcrawler. Okay,
Consider this is his last issues we talked about. This is going out.
Yeah.
Some good faces here.
Yeah.
Except I feel rotten goofing off in bed while the rest of you are working so hard.
How noble. You're entitled to goof off, kiddo. You're sick. Stay in bed. Try to sleep. Drink more hot lemon honey tea and chicken broth. I'll check on you in a few hours. Wirst Tein sein gut, auf Wiedersehen, Katzen.
It's a lot of German for you in one movie.
Thanks, bud.
With that,
week in high school. There you go.
With that, Nightcrawler teleports to the command deck, his smile turning into a troubled frown.
Cyclops, what's the status of the computers, specifically the Medicant systems?
The whole network has to be purged and recycled, Kurt. Nothing will be online any soon. Why? Problems?
Perhaps. I just examined Kitty. She's fully recovered.
That's a problem?
Barely a day ago, she was dying. The shrapnel tore a nasty hole in her side, introducing radioactive elements into her bloodstream. You see, I studied medicine before I was in the circus. From that and the warp transition, she absorbed enough hard radiation to kill a score of people. She shouldn't have survived the night, yet at this moment she's in perfect health. Nothing I did healed her, but I'd like very much to learn what did.
Some questions are better left unanswered, Elf.
What the blazes is that supposed to mean?
The kid's fine. What more do you want?
The reason why, my friend.
You've been lurking about like a blasted specter ever since we escaped from the Brood, mister. Maybe it's time you explained yourself.
Listen, sleazoid. Why didn't you help me nail their queen when we had the chance, psych? That would have done some real damage, possibly crippled their entire race.
I told you, Wolverine, X-Men don't kill.
Wanna bet? Sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I guess all that's happened has driven me kind of buggy. You're right. What's there to get upset about? We escaped with our skins intact. Everything's hunky flaming dory.
Mein Gott, we are friends, he and I. Scott, perhaps he will talk to me.
Stay with Lilandra, Kurt. Give her a hand. There's a pattern forming. Kitty's one piece, Logan's another. and I mean to find out what it is.
So David says he studied medicine at like 16. David, that wasn't actually in the script. Chris slipped that in. That's why it's not actually part of the canon.
Ah, but you believed it, though. You believe that.
Yeah.
That means my Nightcrawler is that convincing.
Yeah, your Nightcrawler voice is that convincing that we
convincing.
couldn't tell that you made
I can just
something
make it up.
That's good. Yep, you keep on making, sir. Keep on making. The shuttle bay. This is the only space large enough for me to create any true weather. Here, at last, I can fly. When I try to attune my spirit to that of the Brood's world, the better to utilize my powers there, and failed. I believed it was because the Brood had so totally corrupted the planet's life force. I fear the fault was mine. I am losing my touch with my essential self. And David, he believed Claremont would try to sneak that in totally, but it was not true. Anthony says, this is like the X-Men version of that sitcom trope where all one person needs to do is say what is actually going on so the problem can be handled. But the problem is sleazoid babies. Trevor says Kurt went from Terry Garr and Young Frankenstein to Dr. Strangelove. That's good. Some good references, Terry Garr. All right. Some element is disrupting the critical harmony of mind, body, and soul. I must find it and put things right. If I was on Earth, I would definitely take off all my clothes and go for a swim or a shower. That's exactly what would happen in an X-Men comic, but I'm not. I'm stuck in space. And to put things right before it's too late. A wind lifts her gently from the deck. But then, without warning,
Storm! Aurora!
Leave me be, Scott, I beg you. I'm uninjured, and I would really rather be left alone.
No dice. That's my riff. What? Something's tearing us apart, Aurora. If we deny its existence, if we turn away from those who want to help us, we're as good as dead.
I fear I am beyond your help. I am consecrated to life. My mutant powers, and more importantly, my very soul, are bound to the primal force of a living world, our Earth. Removed from that environment, my abilities, in and of themselves, remain unimpaired. I am as strong in purely physical terms as I ever was. But my soul is stricken. My spirit is wasting away, and the longer I am separated from my home, the more I will lose. How will I ever regain those missing, ravaged pieces of myself, Scott? And when there is nothing left, what will become of me? Can a body live without its soul? Being aboard this vessel only makes matters worse. Look about you. Nothing but steel, cold metal, unliving plastics, synthetics. I hate it. I need life to sustain me. There is none here, not even the joy and love I felt for the X-Men.
I don't understand. We haven't changed. We still feel the same.
But I am changing. I have been ever since our escape, deep down in the core of my being. And I know neither the cause nor the final effect. Oh!
That does it. I'm calling Nightcrawler Doctor Extraordinaire. You're sick, Aurora. You should be in bed.
Is this not ironic? Kitty miraculously recovers from seemingly mortal wounds, while I, who've never been ill a day in my life, fall prey to a mysterious malady. It is as if I have become a stranger to myself, inhabiting a body no longer my own. Bright lady, could that be the answer? She's going bonkers.
She is. She really is.
It's so obvious, so unthinkable. I never considered it. Scott, I sense life within me. A child! But how can this be? I must probe deeper. Where do you come from, little one? Who? No! Oh no! Goddess! With that cry comes a hurricane gust of wind that sweeps Cyclops the length of the bay and out the hatch.
Aurora? Storm! She went berserk, took a scout ship, blasted off. But why leave her costume behind? Carol, bring her back. We have no operational sensors. When she's out of sight in this cloud, we'll never find her.
You ever figure that might be what she wants?
She's irrational.
With good reason, bub.
Like what? I'm in no mood for games, pal. Your explanation's long overdue.
Yeah, I guess it is. I should have told you on Sleaze World, or after we cut loose into space. I tried a few times, but I couldn't. It hurt too much. I thought of killing you. Couldn't do that either. I figured there was hope. There's always hope. We'd somehow get lucky, run into a miracle. Who knows? I could be right. But I wouldn't count on it. When the Sleazoids captured us, we were taken before their queen. They call her the Great Mother, and she implanted an egg in each of us. Each egg contains an embryonic queen. It bonded itself into our nervous system. Nervous systems, plural. So it can't be surgically removed. When it hatches, a physical metamorphosis occurs. The host body is reshaped into the birth form of the young Sleazoid. In the process, it absorbs the genetic potential and abilities of the host, to pass on to its progeny. In my case, they reckoned without my mutant power, the human factor. My body treated the egg as an invading disease organism and went after it, whole hog. That fight flaming near killed me. That was partly why I couldn't tell you the truth. I felt guilty, a little ashamed, because I was free. I would live, and you wouldn't. The embryo queens possess a degree of awareness. They know when they're threatened, and they'll take any steps to ensure their survival. In Kitty's case, that meant curing her. A dead host is of no use to them, but they can just as easily be nasty.
Nasty, Logan? They don't know the meaning of the word. But by all I hold holy, they're going to learn!
Aurora's cry was one of grief and despair. Carol's, equally mad, is of rage. And then, like Storm, she's gone. Unlike Storm, however...
Explosive decompression, our worst enemy to date. We're being sucked into space, X-Men.
Next issue, Transfigurations. Dave Pretorius says, they're all turning into Sleazoids? Sleazoids from Sleazoid City.
Yeah. Sleazoid here,
That
Sleazoid there.
is the end of Dave Cockrum's run on the X-Men.
Holy
moly.
crapola.
Yeah. Is there anything good in the letter column? I'm stalling, so you talk about the letters.
We got. Philip and Bob, and he names Dean from California. No, nothing. Someone asks, can the Shi'ar pronounce their names without different apostrophes? It must be a genetic defect. And so it says, sounds good to us with a whole bunch of apostrophes. Hilarious.
So,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking here at this book I've shown before. It's called The Life and Art of Dave Cockrum by Glenn Cadigan. Introduction by Alex Ross. And in it, there is basically every interview that Dave Cockrum ever gave. And tons of sketches and whatnot. And so there's some early drawings of Binary. And there are multiple stars across the white portion of her suit on her chest, and she has like flame wings and stuff.
Wow.
And Chris goes through his sketchbook and sees it and says, I don't know, we gotta make that into Carol Danvers. Yeah. So he sees her and he was like, Cockrum says he was doodling another character and calling her Binary. And Chris sees it and he says, Jean Grey? And I said, give me a break, Chris. He said, Carol Danvers? And I said, well, and he got it for that one, you know? So that's what it says there. So in 1981, due to the success of the X-Men, Marvel decides to launch a spin-off title from the main book called New Mutants. And due to his working relationship with New Mutants author Claremont, Cockrum was aware of the team's development, and in 2002 he remembers, I confess, when Chris Claremont was putting together the original format and mentioned that one of his kids was going to be a coal miner from West Virginia, Cannonball, I suggested with a snicker that the kid be named Black Lung. Cockrum eventually drew an issue of the title himself, although it was not published until after his death. Like that's what we're dealing with here. Like he doesn't always have great ideas. So like, yeah, let's call him Black Lung. Great stuff. Back in 1981, while still working on the X-Men, the artist was selected by Marvel to draw the 1982 crossover between DC and Marvel Comics. The decision was based on the fact that Cockrum had drawn both the X-Men and Legion of Superheroes. The two teams that were planned to meet in the upcoming series was going to be an X-Men crossover with Legion of Superheroes. Like two top-selling books. However, because of the rising popularity of Marv Wolfman and George Perez's New Teen Titans over at X-Men, Marvel's competitor decided to make it X-Men Teen Titans crossover instead. So Cockrum is positioned to get this amazing one-shot crossover where he's going to be able to, draw all these characters he loves. It's going to sell a crap ton, and he's in for a huge payday and a lot of work. But it doesn't happen, right? Like that falls through. So it's like a slight against, right? And that year, Marvel's then editor-in-chief Shooter tells them, he goes, I think that's a mistake. I think it'd be much better off with a Legion. It's a more established series, has better characters, more recognizable characters like Superboy. I think Titans is the sort of hot book right now, but the Legion has been a consistent winner that they ought to go with. Now, of course, Jim Shooter wrote Legion of Superheroes when he was a kid. Do you know that story about Jim Shooter?
No.
It's the Cameron Crowe Rolling Stone story.
Oh, okay.
Where he submits
for DC.
He submits scripts to DC by mail, and they're like, they think he's a grown-up. And they phone him, and they're like, you come on into, like, would you write some more? Can you come into New York to talk? He's like, I can come down, I gotta ask my mom. They're like, wait a minute, how old are you? It's like 14. So he was writing at DC when he's real young. And so he has a soft spot for the Legion as well. So in 2002, Cockrum recalls, there was originally going to be the Legion X-Men crossover, and I was going to draw it, and then they decided, no, we'll make it Teen Titans. That's the one that Walt Simonson drew. Right. So they figured the Titans were more commercial. Makes sense. So, with the absence of Legion of Superheroes and his own busy schedule on the monthly X-Men title, the decision was ultimately made to have the crossover be drawn by somebody else. And even Simonson remembers that he was second in line. That he was second in line to Dave Cockrum. But Cockrum's editor, of course, is Louise Simonson. Like, remember, there was, her husband or maybe boyfriend at the time gets the gig. So she remembers that he was slow with deadlines. And it was hard for him to get those things done on time. So, it's all right. Eventually, he did a lot of his pencils in blue, like Blue Line, and so other artists were coming on to, like the inkers were doing a lot of the work. So he was doing a little bit less and less. And then here's the thing about the Futurians, okay? So they're trapped in the Bruin homeworld. Okay, you can keep going if you want to. And he says, I wanted to do the Futurians, but I didn't really want to leave the X-Men. I was still having fun with it. At an X-Men plotting session, Chris and Louise Simonson asked me about the Futurians, and as I was describing the characters and storyline, I started jumping up and down, waving my hands, making sound effects, and in general, acting like a lunatic. They decided I was more interested in Futurians than the X-Men. They talked me into leaving the book. Sure. Okay. Sometimes I wonder if it wasn't a good way of getting me to leave so they could choose a faster and more malleable artist. And then he reflects on it, in 99, and he says, it was probably the biggest mistake of my life. That was about the time they started paying the royalties and reprint money. It takes 9 months after an issue goes on sale before you get royalty checks, so I hadn't received one yet by the time I quit the X-Men. When the first one came, it was $2,000 right out of the air. I thought, geez, and it got better. If I'd known about that kind of money coming in, you couldn't have pried me off the book with a crowbar. The Futurians was never that successful. It wasn't? Are you sure?
Because we have a whole other YouTube series called Previously in Futurians.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's really, I don't know what he's talking about. It's totally successful. So, yeah, here's a picture I'll show you, of the Futurians.
Futurians. Wow. Looks
Black boots and a swashbuckler.
And a dude with wings and lady fire hair.
Yeah. I hit myself in the face with that hurt. So he really has that ongoing narrative in his retelling of things that he's like hard done by. That things didn't go his way.
Which is a common thing. Like there's plenty of that's a common you will encounter people in life. Things have not gone their way and geez, that's what you hear about.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to remember sometimes, that you can get a lot of attention from others by telling your sad story. So thanks for the good advice. I'll make sure I do that. Yeah, it's when things don't go well, I have to often remind myself, like, no one wants to hear this. You know what I mean? Like, find the upside of it. Keep moving forward. It's I'm pretty sure that the whole 2020 COVID thing happened just to stop our book from getting out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. I don't know if anyone else in the chat had stuff coming up that year. Probably not, but we certainly did.
Oh, yeah. We're the only ones who were affected by it, for sure. Yeah, Jason says that I was stalling to grab my Ch'od. I had an accident. I don't actually have a Ch'od. So there you go. I'll show you the scars another time. Jason says, now Weezy's back to write Jean Grey. Oh, that's cool. West End Comics has some of those issues on their stand. Futurians, is that what you're referring to, Jason? Now that Jason is hanging out at Raid, he's right near West End Comics because it's just up the block. Hey, Jason, you going to be there Friday afternoon? There's a possibility I might be coming by Friday afternoon. I'm doing a little thing with Raid. You know that, Chris?
Believe I was aware, yeah. I think it's got something to do with the word Futurians in it.
Yes, Raid is reviving the Futurians, and I am on board.
All this Cockrum, we're just like, it can't end. It can't end. We have to do Futurians.
Yeah, no, I'm doing. I'm not sure what details are out there, so I'll just say I'm doing something science fiction, and don't think that all of our talk about scale and and the sci-fi it's sitting on me. It's weighing on me for sure. So I'm mindful of it and the pages I'm putting together. But we'll talk about it when it's time. Jason says, nah, just Mondays and sometimes Tuesdays. I've been hearing your name. I'm assuming you're talking about me in this situation, and that always disturbs me.
And Jason Lowe doesn't like that because there's only room for one Jason in town.
That's right. Yeah. Hearing my name, just that, there's not anything like that going on. Not that exciting. And they're waiting for those damn files from me on Dropbox. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. Chris, what's going on? What can you share?
Well, we've already talked about our crowdfunder. We won't talk about it again. We don't want to beat you over the head with it. But we are crowdfunding for our latest book of our graphic novel, Group 7 Most Secret Tale. We are 90% funded. So, hey, if you're interested in checking it out, thanks to those who have. I know a few of you in the chat have done that, so thank you so much. By the way.
Thank you.
It's really
Hugely appreciated.
You can get our new printing. You get a brand new comic book, Peregrine's Hunter's Moon. You get our old comic books. There you go. Jason's got a few up there. Some old Peregrine stuff up there, too. So we'll have that up until the end of May. We just got back from TCAF. The next show for Jason is MCAF in Montreal. And we'll probably have something, hopefully one or two around the summertime as well. That's new. We have a fun Maple Leafs comic that's been out for a little bit, trying to will our boys on to victory. Look to get some of those other ones out, hopefully.
Yeah, there's 2 more to go. I gotta get those pages done too.
So there's those. That's about it, I think, for us.
Hey, Chris, I don't know what you're doing Friday night, but if you're kicking around downtown Toronto at 11 o'clock at night, it's possible that my band, the Bad Apples, will be playing their last show ever. It might be the last show ever. We'll see.
Is it because Cockrum ended his X-Men run? You're like, that's it.
An act of solidarity. Yeah, we'll be playing at Say What on Front Street on Friday night at around getting close to 11 o'clock, maybe 10:30. We're doing a show earlier at a private function at about 7 o'clock.
Okay.
We're already downtown. We might as well do another one. So we're doing two shows that night, which should be fun. And there's going to be some Brazilian steak somewhere in there as well. Something's happening with some steak. But so if anyone's around Friday night in Toronto, come by Say What on Front Street. Check out the Bad Apples. Exactly. We're gonna have a fun time.
Nice.
Should be a good jam for sure.
Yeah.
That probably brings us to the end.
I think it does.
So thank you very much to everyone for hanging out with us in the chat. It's been really nice seeing you all there. And I'm loving all the sleazoid stuff. I don't ever want to
sleazoids.
Hashtag sleazoids.
Not my sleazoids. Hashtag sleazoids.
Please subscribe to the channel. Hit like on this video and throw comments in the conversation below as well if you're watching this on the replay. Share the video with people who you think would be interested in things like a 90-minute read through of an X-Men comic that from almost 1983. We really love doing this stuff. If there's other issues you want us to cover outside of what you think we're already going to do, feel free to let us know in the comments as well. And you guys are all the best. And I'm looking forward to when I get to see, whether it be Trevor, finally for the first time, I'd love to meet that guy in person. He's a good soul. And getting to see, David and David again, and Jason, of course, again, and Anthony at my local. I got to go to the comic store soon, possibly tomorrow. Later, sleazoids. Thanks, Dave. All right. I guess that's it for us, Chris?
I think so for this weekend.
All right, buddy. Have a wonderful night and good to hang out with you. Go Leafs, go. And that's the X-Men thing, really? Is there like X-Men forever? Like, if that feels weird.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. There you go. Cheers.